Hello there and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever once again. So we are back with the third match of this series of 1v1s I had with T right over here. So today we are playing on Salt Rock Colony evidently, and this was the first match I've played on this map, and I am playing UEF once again in the left corner of the map. My opponent T is playing from the right hand side of the map. So UEF versus Aeon. This being my first time playing on this map, I did not know whether or not the spawns were necessarily locked on this map. So I was thinking maybe my opponent's up here, maybe my opponent is down here. So at the start, I am going my standard opening of Land Factory into something else. This time I figured, I mean, we don't have a hydrocarbon plant right away. There's definitely less mass on the map than say before, but nevertheless, I figured, you know what, we will get an air factory just for that scale, just for the certainty of figuring out exactly where the heck is my opponent, kind of, you know, how exactly will the dynamics of this map play out, because it is, yeah, something that you definitely do not see a lot in, say, your standard RTSs, right, in your StarCraft 2, where things are, yeah, more, I would say more symmetrical in a different sense. I know technically this map is symmetrical, but I don't know. I don't necessarily know how to articulate that very well. Right, so go into air, get a couple of engineers, and I think one of the things that you might, or one of the things that I recognize pretty fastly on the map is that while you can't reclaim these trees, and just to give you guys a sense of the scale of the game, while you can't reclaim these trees, it is much better to actually go up over here and grab the rocks, in my opinion, at least generally speaking. That's how I've noticed things to be set up inside the game. It's typically worth reclaiming the rocks, but nothing else. So that is one thing. My opponent here does something that I did not know about until I saw him do it. Let's put that up to game 2 speed. So some of these maps, they will spawn with a lot of these random structures, neutral structures, if you will. So he comes up here and he actually starts reclaiming these, which I did not know was possible actually. But anyhow, he comes up here. He grabs these buildings, and if we take a look at the resource spike, they do give off about, I want to say, about 200 resources from each little bit here. Let's see. Well, no, they're about 100 mass each, so they are, yeah, those things are definitely not bad. So I bring my spy plane there, I checked that out, and yeah, I noticed that. I thought it was pretty cool. So that said, I'll probably try to use that next game. I did not know where exactly these neutral camps or these neutral groups were, so that said, I was trying to probe around the map and get a sense of where they were. I don't know necessarily why he left that one out. Perhaps because I had 2 scouts there, not that they were necessarily much of a threat against that tank. But that is another third story. Got my marine here. I blow up the mass reclamation point. I see the tanks, so I try to pull back and try to get another scout on whatever is on this map. So at this point, I was kind of mixed. I mean, is this going to be a fight for the middle portion of the map? I mean, is this going to be a fight for the resources in the middle here? Let's see if I can drop some signals. No. Anyhow, is this going to be a fight for the center here? Is it going to be a fight for the coastline down here? Or is it going to be kind of like a resource war for, you know, lots of harassments at the top of the map here? So, at this point, I mean, I see his commander down here. I see a couple of units, and in the back of my forces here right now, I don't know why, but I decided to go for early tech. So I wanted to tier up my my air factory right away. I want to get some real gunships out. Some of these Stingers, which are decently, well, I'd say decently armored with decent fire power out, such that I can snipe my opponent's commander here. And so that's kind of what I decided to go into. And with that said, I'm thinking, you know what, this is going to be an all-in type of build. I want to produce a lot of units really fast, ball them up. Don't necessarily care about my resource counts, and I just want to kind of smash my army into them and win from there. So, you know, kind of going forwards from that, nevertheless, I do build a couple of power plants here. I decided against kind of, you know, going kind of like fully all in with this. So in that time, I pull my army back for some reason. Probably shouldn't have done that. And my opponent here does get a nice bit of raiding done on the coast here. Brings up the AA forwards, in fact. So nevertheless, I want to try to corner off his army as best as possible. And again, my units are more tankier than theirs, so long as I can get the sandwich squeeze off. His unit should be dead pretty fast, and there you go. So that's kind of brawl number one. At this point, you know, I'm starting to get production out in terms of these gunships, and I'm getting my commander to assist in that. In fact, I don't think I'll move my commander forwards. So yeah, there you go. Gunship is out. Can tank some anti-air fire. Can't tank a lot of it, but makes short work of what is already kind of paper-thin tanks, right? So yeah, I get out a few of those. Second one in en route, and I decide to move forwards. Apologies. Third one is en route. So there you go. And I see his commander right here, out on the side, kind of the middle of nowhere. So I decided that this is kind of easy pickings. I'm going to try to get as much damage onto this commander as possible. And at this point, I mean, this game could have really gone two ways, but I think my opponent here, my opponent definitely made the right move here. If you put your commander under the sea, or disappear him like that, as the game decides to render it, you cannot shoot him with air units anymore unless they are torpedo bombers. So for intents and purposes, those units are where his commander is safe, so long as he stays under the seas. So kind of going from there. I see that, you know, he doesn't really have too much here, to the best of my knowledge, so I'm going to move upwards. I'm going to try to take these points, and I'm going to deny a lot of stuff right here. Bring up my gunships, and again, these things just rip through some of those light tanks. Of course, them being air units, they are indeed faster, and I'm moving forwards. So at this point, I mean, I see that my opponent is making a bit of a push here. In reality, I think this is just, yeah, a couple of units, and probably should have been able to held that off with my commander. And now, I actually expected these two things on the minimap at the very least. I thought these were two actual, like, cruisers, maybe some frigates being brought out of some sort of naval factory, because he does have them here. So I was kind of scared that my opponent did the same thing. He decided to kind of go into early tech and produce a lot of that stuff, but no, as it turns out, it was land units. Nevertheless, I mean, I'm kind of already committed to this wall up here in the front, so I decided to push forward and decide to try to grab some of the stuff here. My opponent does bring out his commander once again. I decided against going for it, mostly out of the fact that, I mean, as I've seen in the past, this doesn't work that well, so I decided to pick off his production. So overall, I mean, during this time, my opponent is in... Don't want to change that. I would say actually a pretty good state. I mean, during this time, I did not have a lot of mass gain at all. I mean, I had 9 reclaim gain and 340 power, which is like peanuts compared to what he had expanding up here towards the top. So, I mean, at this point, I mean, my thoughts are there's probably nothing at the top of the map. I mean, this is a push coming from this base around into mine, and with that, you know, kept in mind, I decided to press forwards here, take out his production, get rid of the naval factories afterwards, and everything will be fine. So tanks go through here. Lots of artillery, lots of things coming down. And even though I'm kind of behind in mass, I know that so long as I can kind of reclaim his factories here, I will be in a pretty good spot. And yeah, so going from there, I decided to kind of go for a base trade, quite literally, and try to build some engineers to help speed this process up in the meantime. And again, at this point inside the game, I'm still under the impression that there's nothing up here for the most part. I see, you know, a couple of tanks streaming through here. I don't see a reinforcement wave as well. So my thoughts were, you know what, this is just kind of an isolated block of mass extractors, and that's pretty much it. So again, I decided to push forwards here. I still have some one of these air transports. I built it because I wanted to do some drop play early on, but never really got into it, right? So I see all this stuff up here. I decided to press onwards and hopefully crush this. So units get balled up, they get moved forwards. I don't have a lot of troops left, but I figured, you know what, that's okay. As long as I can avoid the death blow over here, I should be fine. Factories, you know, they're honestly not that expensive, and I consider them really just kind of giant Lego blocks that produce units. So I'd say push forwards here, grab some mass off the ground, kill off the factories, and my original thoughts were to actually reclaim well, not reclaim, but capture these land factories for my own use. But as it turns out, it takes it takes an eternity with the T1 engineers. So at this point, I figured that, I mean, there's too much in the game. Call it GG and blow up my comms. So overall, I mean, could I have kind of stuck that out here at the end is kind of my question. Well, you know, now seeing the board for what it's worth, and my answer is, you know what, I don't know. I don't know. I think for this match, it probably would have been better to send, you know, a couple engineers with protection up here, grab the base for ourselves, and really kind of divide the map into two halves versus each other, right? Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed these 1v1 casts. I found it a very entertaining game in the meantime, and who knows, you might even see me on well, Forged Alliance Forever if you, I suppose, play Mountain Time too. So to that, I'll leave you to next time.